This card. Most people treat it exactly like a credit card. Tap it at the grocery store, swipe it at the gas pump, store the number online for Amazon, use it for everything, every day, without a second thought. Here's what your bank will never sit you down and explain. This card is connected directly to the account where your money lives. Not a line of credit, not a pending charge that can be reversed. The actual cash. The moment a criminal uses your card number, which they can get from a gas pump skimmer installed while you were standing right there pumping gas, the money leaves your account before you wake up the next morning. And while your bank investigates the fraud, which under federal law can take up to 10 business days and up to 45 days if the transaction crossed international lines, your mortgage payment goes out, your utility bill goes out, your prescription auto pay goes out. On an account that may have $451 left in it, here's the part that makes this worse in 2026 specifically. Congress voted last year to kill the rule that would have capped overdraft fees at $5. As of May 2026, both the overdraft fee cap and the last remaining CFPB guidance on overdraft consent practices are dead. Banks charge up to $35 every time you overdraft. Some banks charge it 3 times in a single day. That's $105 for what might be a $4 coffee that pushed your balance negative. So the fraud hits, the account drains, the automatic payments bounce, and then the fees start. $35 per bounce, times however many payments are scheduled that week, on money that was already stolen from you. Today I'm going to walk you through exactly how this works, why your bank has no financial reason to explain it, what the federal law actually says about your rights, and the simple 2-account setup that takes one phone call to implement and permanently removes your primary income account from this entire risk. Stay through the end, because the fix is genuinely simple. And the reason you haven't heard it before is the most important part of this video. Let me start with the thing nobody says out loud about this. Every time you swipe your debit card, your bank earns a fee from the merchant. It's called an interchange fee. You never see it. It comes out of what the merchant pays, but it's real and it adds up. The more you swipe, the more your bank earns. That means the branch manager who has been friendly and helpful with you for 15 years has a direct financial reason to keep you using your debit card as much as possible. And no financial reason to sit you down and say, here's the payment method in your wallet that gives a criminal the most direct access to your money. That conversation costs the bank money, so it never happens. And in 2026, the policy environment has made this significantly worse for consumers. The $5 cap on overdraft fees was killed by Congress in May 2025. In May 2026, the Senate voted 47 to 53 to withdraw the last remaining CFPB guidance on overdraft consent practices. Both protections are gone. The national average overdraft fee is now $26.77 per transaction. JPMorgan Chase alone collected over $1 billion in overdraft fees in 2024. The CFPB's overdraft fee rule that was killed would have put $5 billion back into the pockets of everyday people. Approximately $225 per household that pays overdraft fees annually. That $225 per household is not going back to consumers now. It is going to the same banks that profit every time you swipe your debit card and every time a fraudulent transaction drains your account and causes your other payments to bounce. This is not a conspiracy. It is an incentive. And understanding the incentive is the first step to protecting yourself from it. There are 2 completely different federal laws governing your 2 cards. Your bank knows this. You probably don't. And the difference between them is the entire reason this video exists. Your credit card is governed by the Fair Credit Billing Act. Under the Fair Credit Billing Act, if fraud occurs on your credit card, the charge never leaves your account in the first place. It is flagged as disputed. You owe nothing on it while the investigation runs. Every major issuer reverses it immediately when you report it. You never lose access to a single dollar. The bank absorbs the loss during the investigation, not you. Your debit card is governed by the Electronic Funds Transfer Act. Under the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, the money leaves your account the moment the fraud happens. It is gone. Then the investigation begins. And here is what the law actually says about your rights during that investigation, because this is the part most people have never read. If you report debit card fraud within 2 days of discovering it, your maximum loss is $50. If you report it between 2 and 60 days after your statement is sent, your maximum loss jumps to $500. If you wait longer than 60 days after your statement is sent, you could lose every dollar the criminal took. The bank is not legally required to return a single cent beyond what the law specifies. And during the investigation, which can run 10 business days under federal law, and up to 45 days if the transaction has international elements, your account sits exactly as drained as the criminal left it. The bank may issue a provisional credit during that window. They are not required to. Many do not. Your bills do not wait 10 business days. 2 cards, 2 completely different federal laws. One of them keeps the money in your account while the investigation happens. The other one lets it leave first and investigates later. Your bank has not explained this to you because explaining it would cost them money. Now let me show you what the actual fraud environment looks like right now, because I want to make sure you understand this is not a theoretical risk. Debit card fraud loss rates continue to climb in recent years, according to a February 2026 analysis from the Kansas City Federal Reserve, based on Federal Reserve Board data released in December 2025. The loss rate for cardholders rose between 2021 and 2023 when debit cards were used to pay for goods or services online or in stores. Card skimming impacted nearly 3,000 unique financial institutions in the most recent reporting period, a 79% year-over-year increase. The number of U.S. debit cards involved in skimming rose 77% from roughly 70,000 cards to nearly 120,000. That's 120,000 debit cards compromised by skimming alone. Skimming is by definition a physical attack. Gas stations, ATMs, restaurants where a server carries your card out of your line of sight for 45 seconds. The transaction looks completely normal. You signed for it. And your card number is already cloned before you get back to the table. Individuals aged 60 to 69 reported the largest total financial loss to fraud of any age group in 2025, $185 billion. That is more than any other age group in the country. Not the youngest people, who are generally assumed to be most at risk from digital fraud, the 60 to 69 age group. The people most likely to have their Social Security check, their pension, and their savings all landing in the same checking account that their debit card pulls from directly. The United States accounts for 37% of global card fraud losses, despite representing a fraction of the world's population. Global card fraud is projected to exceed $39.7 billion, and identity theft reports involving debit cards increased 22% in a recent reporting period. These numbers are not stable, they are climbing. The skimming hardware has become small enough to install inside the housing of a gas pump, where no visual inspection from outside will find it. The fraud operations running these skimmers have become professional, organized, and global. And the regulatory environment that was supposed to protect you from the fee consequences when your account gets drained. As of May 2026, that protection is gone. Let me walk you through exactly how this plays out, because the fraud itself is rarely the worst part. A 67-year-old retiree has her Social Security deposited on the 3rd of the month. The amount is $2,071. She uses her debit card for groceries, gas, and a few regular purchases. On the night of the 4th, one day after her deposit clears, a criminal uses her card number taken from a skimmer at a gas station she visited 2 weeks earlier to make 4 purchases totaling $1,062 at retail stores in another state. She wakes up on the 5th, and her account balance is $451. She calls the bank immediately, reports the fraud. The bank opens an investigation. Under the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, the bank has 10 business days to provisionally credit her account. Some banks do this immediately, many do not. They are legally permitted to wait until the investigation concludes. Meanwhile, her automatic mortgage payment of $890 goes out on the 10th. Declined. Her utility payment of $140 goes out on the 12th. Declined. Her supplemental insurance premium of $210 goes out on the 15th. Declined. Banks charge up to $35 every time an account is overdrawn. Some charge it 3 times in a single day. Each declined payment generates a returned item fee. Each creditor may charge its own return payment fee on top of the bank's fee. By the time the investigation closes and her funds are restored, she has incurred bank fees on 3 bounced payments, return payment fees from 3 creditors, a returned payment notation on her insurance file, and 12 days of phone calls to every creditor individually, explaining a situation that was not her fault and that nobody warned her was possible. The fraud was $1,060. The total damage, direct and collateral, was significantly more than that. And every bit of it started with one card attached directly to the account where her income lands every month. Here's the strategy. It is called account separation. Financial professionals have used it quietly for themselves for decades, while handing debit cards to everyone else. Here is how it works. Account 1, your primary account. Income only, no card exposure. This is where your Social Security deposit lands, your pension check, your investment distributions. Every source of income flows into this account. You do not hand this account number to merchants. You do not swipe a debit card connected to this account at gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants, or anywhere a payment terminal could be compromised. This account faces the world as little as possible. Your automatic payments, mortgage, utilities, insurance, prescriptions, run through this account via direct ACH. That is fine. ACH payments from a known, established payee are a much lower fraud risk than a physical card being swiped at a terminal where a skimmer could be installed. Account 2, your spending account. Low balance. 1 phone call to open. You open a second checking account at the same bank or a different one. You fund it periodically from your primary account, $300 at the start of the week, for example. You use the debit card attached to this account for daily purchases. If a skimmer captures that card number, the criminal gets access to whatever is in the spending account. $300 or less, not $2,071, not your entire monthly income, not the account your automatic payments run through. And better than a spending account debit card is replacing it with a credit card entirely. Not to carry a balance, not to pay interest. You use the credit card for every purchase, pay it in full each month on the due date, and every transaction is protected by the Fair Credit Billing Act. Zero liability. Immediate reversal if fraud occurs. And your checking account, the one your mortgage and utilities run through, never touches a merchant terminal in your life. A criminal who skims your spending card gets $300 and a headache. A criminal who skims your primary account gets your rent, your electric bill, and your medication budget. The wall between those two things is a phone call. Some banks have eliminated overdraft fees entirely. Capital One, Citibank, and Ally charge $0. Bank of America dropped theirs to $10. If you're paying $35 per overdraft at a bank that hasn't changed its policy, that's a choice you can change. When you open your spending account, look specifically at banks with no overdraft fees. So even if the spending account runs low, you're not paying $35 for the mistake. Here's the checklist. 4 things. Do them today, not someday. 1. Real-time transaction alerts on every card you have active. Not a daily digest, not a weekly summary. 1 text message the moment your card is used anywhere for any amount. The second a transaction appears that you did not make, you know within minutes, not days. Call your bank right now and confirm this is running on your account. If it is not, ask them to turn it on before you hang up. This is free. Every major bank offers it. Most people don't have it enabled. 2, lower your daily debit spending limit. Most banks automatically assign debit spending limits of $500 to $1,000 per day. Call and ask them to lower your limit to $200 or $300. This does not prevent you from making larger planned purchases. You can call to authorize them individually. What it does is prevent a criminal with your card number from running $900 in transactions across 3 states between midnight and sunrise before you have any idea it's happening. 3. Never store your debit card number in an online retail account. If that retailer's database gets breached and your debit card number is stored there, your checking account is the breach. Enter the number manually each time, or ask your bank about virtual card numbers if they offer that option. Credit cards only for stored payment methods online. 4. Never swipe a debit card at a gas pump. Card skimming impacted nearly 3,000 unique financial institutions, with a 79% year-over-year increase. And gas station pump skimmers account for a disproportionate share of all debit card fraud. The pumps sit unattended for hours. Modern skimmer hardware is small enough to install inside the pump housing, where no visual inspection from outside will find it. Walk inside and pay at the register, or use a credit card at the pump. This one habit change permanently eliminates the single highest risk swipe location in daily life from your checking account. One more thing before we wrap up, because I know the objection that just occurred to some of you. My bank already offers zero liability on my debit card. I'm covered no matter what. Here is exactly what that policy is and what it isn't. Your bank's zero liability debit card policy is a voluntary internal policy. It is not a federal law. The Fair Credit Billing Act, protection on a credit card, is a federal law passed by Congress. Your bank cannot change a federal law on a quarterly earnings call. Your bank can change its own internal policy anytime it chooses. Banks have restricted, narrowed, and added conditions to their voluntary zero liability policies before when fraud losses climbed high enough to affect profitability. They will do it again. The people relying on a voluntary bank policy instead of a federal law are one internal memo away from a very different conversation. One more thing. Call your bank and say, I want to opt out of overdraft coverage for debit card and ATM transactions. Your card gets declined instead of costing you $35. That's it. This is your right. Exercise it today. Note that checks, recurring debits, and ACH payments can still trigger overdraft fees even if you opt out for debit and ATM, so the account separation strategy remains the most complete protection. Here is the full picture. Your debit card pulls money directly from your account before any investigation happens. Your credit card does not. That difference is a federal law, not a policy preference. Americans aged 60 to 69 reported the largest total fraud loss of any age group in 2025, $185 billion. They are the people most likely to have their entire monthly income in one account behind one card. Congress killed the rule that would have capped overdraft fees at $5. Banks now charge up to $35 per overdraft. Some charge it 3 times a day. The fee infrastructure that stacks on top of a fraud event has never been more expensive. And your bank has no financial reason to explain any of this to you, because the more you swipe your debit card, the more they earn, and the more your account bounces when fraud hits, the more fees they collect. The fix is one phone call. Open a second account. Fund it with a small rolling balance. Use that card or a credit card for all daily purchases. Keep your primary account, the one your income lands in, as invisible to the outside world as possible. That is the entire strategy. One phone call, one afternoon. Permanent protection. Here's the action I want you to take today. Not this week, today. Call your bank. Ask them to turn on real-time transaction alerts for every card on your account. Then ask them to lower your daily debit spending limit to $200 or $300. Then ask them how to open a second checking account. Those 3 questions on one phone call change your exposure completely. If you know someone who is still running their direct deposit and their daily spending through the same debit card, a parent, a neighbor, a friend who has never heard the words Electronic Funds Transfer Act, send them this video. That one share might save them a month's income and 10 days of phone calls to creditors while their bank finishes an investigation they never saw coming.